Welcome back to The Explainer, where we dig into the big ideas that shape our world. Today, we're talking about something that runs our lives, mostly from behind the scenes, our habits.
Just think about your day so far. How many of those things you've done were actual conscious decisions? Well, according to a Duke University study, probably a lot fewer than you think. Get this, more than 40% of our daily actions aren't really decisions at all. They're habits. So that raises a really fascinating question, right? If habits are all about repetition and learning, can someone who can't form any new memories still form new habits? To get to the bottom of this, we need to meet a man known in the medical world simply as EP, or Eugene Pauly. And believe me, his story completely turned our understanding of habits upside down. So back in 1993, Eugene got this really nasty virus that caused just catastrophic damage to his brain. It wiped out the part responsible for making new memories, the medial temporal lobe, and with it went his ability to form any new long-term memories at all. And the damage was, well, it was profound. He couldn't hold on to new information for more than a minute or so. He was basically frozen in time. He couldn't even draw you a simple sketch of the house he lived in every single day. And yet, this is where things get really strange. Every morning, Eugene would go for a walk around the block. He couldn't tell you what street he was on, he didn't recognize his own front door, but somehow, he always found his way home. How on earth was that possible? To solve this puzzle, scientists at MIT had to look at a much older, more primitive part of the brain, the basal ganglia. It's the part that handles automatic behaviors, and we share it with all sorts of creatures, even rats. So they set up this really clever experiment. They put rats in a maze with a little piece of chocolate at the end, and the whole time they had these tiny sensors recording all the electrical chatter going on inside the rats' brains. Okay, now this is where it gets really cool. On the left, you can see the rat's brain on its first run. It's firing on all cylinders, thinking, sniffing, analyzing everything. But now look at the right. After a few hundred times, once the route is a habit, the brain's activity just plummets. It's totally on autopilot. You know, our brain is incredibly efficient. It loves to save energy. And this process, called chunking, is one of its best tricks. It bundles up a whole sequence of actions into one automatic routine. So our conscious mind can just chill out and think about other things. And all of this reveals a simple but unbelievably powerful three-step pattern that the brain uses to build these automatic routines. This is the secret engine behind every single habit you have. It's called the habit loop, and it's this simple, repeating neurological pattern that's at the core of everything, from biting your nails to your morning coffee ritual. So here's how it works. It's super simple. First, there's a cue. That's the trigger that tells your brain to kick off a certain behavior. Next comes the routine. That's the behavior itself. And finally, the reward, which is the little bit of positive feedback that tells your brain, hey, that was good. Let's remember this loop for later. Okay, so here's the real kicker. This loop isn't just an interesting observation. It's a formula. It's a blueprint. It explains Eugene's mysterious walks, and it's the very same formula that can be used to engineer new habits, even on a massive societal scale. So if we look back at Eugene, he could actually learn to pick a correct object from a pair almost every time, but he had zero memory of ever seeing the objects before. The cue was seeing the objects. The routine was picking the right one, and the reward was a good job from the researcher. His habit brain learned, even when his conscious brain couldn't. Now, let's jump to a totally different story that uses the exact same loop. Can you believe that at the turn of the 20th century, almost nobody in America brushed their teeth? It just wasn't a thing. And then this advertising guy named Claude Hopkins came along. Hopkins was basically a master habit engineer. For Pepsodent toothpaste, he knew he needed a killer cue and an irresistible reward. He found the perfect cue, that gritty film you can sometimes feel on your teeth. And the reward he offered, a beautiful, sparkling white smile. I mean, his ads were genius. They basically said, run your tongue across your teeth. Feel that film? Boom, that's the cue. Then he promised that Pepsodent would get rid of it and give you that gorgeous smile, the reward. He literally created a craving for that minty clean feeling. And the results were just staggering. Before Hopkins, only about 7% of Americans used toothpaste. Just 10 years after his campaign started, that number rocketed to 65%. The man successfully installed a brand new national habit. So what does all this From a guy who couldn't remember his own family to a toothpaste ad from a century ago, what does it all mean for us, for you and me, right now? Well, the science is really clear on this. Once a habit loop gets carved into your brain, it doesn't really go away. It's always there, just waiting for the right cue to come along and set it in motion.
But, and this is the really powerful part, because it's a formula, you can mess with the variables. You can't just delete a bad habit, but you absolutely can replace the routine. You have the power to step in and consciously design new patterns for yourself. By understanding the cue that triggers you and then experimenting with different rewards that satisfy whatever you're craving, you can fundamentally change the routine in the middle. From Eugene's walks to an entire nation brushing its teeth, we've seen just how much this simple loop shapes our world. And now you have the formula. You have the blueprint to rewrite the automatic scripts that shape your life. So the only question left is, which habit will you rewrite?